Clark County School District B. Rose More, you'll have 1 minute to introduce yourself to the panel. You can begin.
My name is Mrs. Rose More. I have a degree in early childhood education with a minor in psychology. I have another degree in business management with a minor in law. I also graduated from UCLA many years ago. I still take courses and so forth from the top 2 people in the United States. I'm a special education advocate, and I have been in the business for 38 years. I do everything that I can to help a student. When a parent calls me and the district won't listen, that's when I'm called in, and then I work with the parent and the district and the IEP teams in special education to be sure that they get the services they need. I'm also a broadcaster for the Rose More Show, where we find, address, and solve the unmet needs of the school district. We give both sides of the story so that the parents can decide which one they want for their child. I'm very vocal. I shoot from the hip. I've been watching this district for 14 years. I go through all of the purchase orders, change orders, and contracts and warrants. Every 2 weeks when the agenda comes out, there's too much fat in the district.
We'll begin questions with Travis.
Hi, Ms. Moore. How are you today?
Mrs.
Mrs.
Yes.
Did I say Ms.?
Yeah.
Okay.
I worked hard for that MRS degree.
2 questions. Well, we've heard several of the candidates talk about parental involvement. The last time I went over to visit Tanaka Elementary to make a presentation, I had to swipe my finger and have my picture taken and type in all my info and be issued a badge. I mean, how inviting is that to the average parent?
It's very inviting because then you know that your child is being protected, but your problem here is the Clark County School District and District B, all the schools do not have PTAs, PTOs, or they call it the MORE, M-O-R-E, which is part of the PTA where fathers are involved. So when you talk about parent involvement, it is not here in this district. When you don't have a PTA or PTSO or whatever, the parents aren't there to vocalize exactly what they want. In my district, Mrs. Garvey does not have meetings once a week that they're supposed to be, once a month they were supposed to have, and I will be having those. Besides, I'm taking through the example of Oscar Goodman to meet me at a coffee shop and just sit down and talk. I'm available 24/7, except on Sundays, and but if it's an emergency, I take that. So as for getting fingerprinted and so forth, I as an advocate do that all the time, and you should be very grateful that they do that for the protection of your child and yourself as well.
Thank you. If I told you that Caliente has a complaint pending with, I believe it's the Attorney General's office, for staff at Caliente signing IEP programs for students who were sent there under guardianship programs, a clear violation, what would you think of that?
You're going to have to explain a little bit more.
Students that are sent from the Clark County School District to Caliente.
Yes.
That have court-appointed guardians.
Yes.
The staff at Caliente was signing the IEPs on behalf of the parents and or the guardians. It
depends on the court order that comes through on who the guardian is for that child and who is able and not able to sign the IEPs.
Right, but the staff clearly cannot sign an IEP.
No, they cannot,
and yet
if not court ordered.
And yet they've been doing it.
Then you have to file charges with the state.
It's been done. What would you do about it?
I would file charges with the state and also the ADA, and also get a hold of the Justice Department in Washington, D.C. I do this all the time against the Clark County School District when they don't meet the unmet needs of our students and they perform this type of conduct. And then they will do an investigation, and then it'll come down from there.
Yeah, there's one pending right now.
Yes. So that has to be done.
Need to move to the next question. Melody?
Can I have a quick follow-up on that?
Yes.
With the fingerprinting and the like on before
I didn't
entry.
say printing, I said swipe.
How many undesirables, I guess for lack of a better word, have been found so far and stopped from entering the schools by this level of scrutiny?
As far as I know, I think 1 or 2.
Okay.
There is no background check when you swipe, or fingerprints, or drug testing, or anything. It's just that you are on campus. So if something goes wrong, the police would have that information. But it does not say if that person can come into the school or not. They may be a pedophile. You would never know. at the time of this wife.
At this time.
Melanie?
Technology's coming.
Thank you for attending this, Mrs. Moore.
Thank you.
Earlier I asked the previous board about the homeschooling issues.
Yes.
I'm no longer an officer of Nevada Homeschool Network. However, when I was finishing up my time, we were getting more and more calls from parents stating that their children were physically, basically they were being told they had to leave school and that it was the parents' responsibility to homeschool them when these parents were not really in a position to homeschool their children. What are your thoughts on that, and have you seen that happen?
Yes, I have, and first of all, it's illegal. They can't tell them to do that. They have to have the documentation and everything to prove that there is a problem. It has to go through a due process, which is your court hearings with the school district, and then you can also take it to civil and criminal as well. As for homeschooling, I have homeschooled my children. We're Montessori fans. The school that they went to, they were putting in a highway, so the school was no longer, so we homeschooled the kids, plus other children from the Montessori school. I think what the impression that people have in homeschooling is you can do what you want when you want, and that is not true. You have a curriculum you have to go through, you have proficiency tests, you have all these type of things that you have to, with the Department of Education, prove that you are educating your child. You have to send in all of your hours that you're doing every week and what you're doing. As for homeschooling, I think the Clark County School District should take a real long look at it and say, yes, we need to have more homeschooling until we can get our act together and get out of the 50th in the state in graduation at risk and what was the other one? Truancy. So I believe, just as with vouchers and with homeschooling, we need to let those kids go, and then when we get our act together and we do what we should be doing, they'll come back. They will come back, believe me.
Next question.
Thank you, Mrs. Moore, for coming today. Of all the positions that are available for office, what made you decide to run for trustee? What makes you think you can offer more as a trustee than anything else?
I have been a special education disability advocate for 38 years. I have all the degrees, I have all the credentials. I'm also, in between time when I was advocating, I was an administrative secretary for construction. I know everything from underground all the way to the roof. I know what to look for in purchase orders and change orders, warrants, and contracts. I know how they're written, I know how they shouldn't be written, I know where the loopholes are. I know where the fat is in the construction. I worked in purchasing. I also know the accounts payable and accounts receivable. I know what's going on with the district in construction as well as in accounting. I don't like what I see, and I have documentation to prove it. I have a radio show, we find the unmet needs. I never say anything on that show I don't have documentation for. If I'm going to say something, I say it's my opinion. So being a trustee, that is my way to end my career, so to speak. I'll be 65 in a week or so. And this is the cream of the crop. We do have wonderful people that work at the district and at the school, but right now, we are no good. And it's affecting our children, and I refuse to have that happen anymore.
Thank you.
Next question.
To what extent should parental choice of the school in which to enroll their child within the district be allowed? Or what could really be done within the current limits that the school board operates under?
Well, the first thing you really have to do is take a look at the annual yearly progress. We had school choice before in District B. All the schools that they had on there, they were anywhere between 5 years to 9 years not meeting annual yearly progress. I tried to tell them to put that on the website so that the parents could make a logical, comprehensive, and solid, sound comprehensive decision on this. They would not do it. They would not do it. So we don't have transparency here in the Clark County School District. Some people do, some people don't. And we've got to stop that. As a trustee, I am transparent. I will tell you how it is. I will name names. I've done it before, and I'll still continue to do it. We have got to turn this around. And if you can't shoot from the hip, and you can't tell the truth on what's going on, we are not going to get out of 50th in the nation.
Next question.
Mrs. Moore, first off, thank you very much again for coming in and answering our questions. And since you are, like you said, you shoot from the hip and you tell people what you think and everything, I think that's great, by the way.
Thank you.
What can we do, I know it's kind of hard at the trustee level, but what could you do if elected to get a dialogue going to get our state legislatures to push back more on the federal government and get them the hell out of education in Nevada?
I know it's,
How does somebody in Washington, D.C. know how to educate a kid in Las Vegas? It's absolutely ridiculous.
well, not true. It isn't ridiculous. I'm not patting myself on my back or accolades for myself. All the people in Washington, D.C. that have high positions are my friends. We have worked from zero ground level, and we have come up in the ranks. So we know each other. 38 years, you have to remember that. We know what is right, we know what is wrong. We take our classes. I take them from the top 1 or 2 of the nation, Dr. John Taylor. He's world renowned. That's who I take my classes from in my training. To stay out of the business of the Clark County School District in Nevada, I'm sorry. They better not take their fingers out of it. We can't control ourselves. We can't control our spending. They're trying to get out of the No Child Left Behind. I'm sorry, but I already wrote to Washington and said, don't you dare say you can give them the waiver, because they don't know what they're doing. It's proven, 50th in the nation. No way.
Next question.
I've seen a significant disparity between schools in the Clark County School District, even in the similar neighborhoods. Where do you see this disparity is coming from, and how do you address it?
The disparities are coming from the universities. The universities, what they need to do is we have highly...
disparities in the quality education in two elementary schools 2 miles apart,
Yep.
have completely different programs or lacking. One has no programs, another one has lots of programs with fantastic teachers.
Exactly, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Highly qualified means that you have to have the education for that particular subject, okay? What I've noticed in many of the schools here, I can have one right down the block, so to speak, or a couple miles like you're talking about. Totally different, resources are different. But when the colleges and universities do not give a diploma for highly qualified, and you expect our teachers and our principals, who used to be teachers, to be able to get resources, and they don't know how to do it, then you have a problem. And that's why it's different. Plus, what I'll tell you right now, when it comes to resources, the Clark County School District does not know how to do resources. The trustees do not know how to do resources. They're not educated in education. Education is not just ABCs. Education, according to law, is academic, behavioral, social, emotional, and mental and physical well-being. So if you don't have somebody with that education in this school here that is directing the school, you're going to have failure. Whereas over here, and the teachers and everybody are highly qualified with a certificate from the college instead of the high school, then you're going to see a big difference.
Okay, that's time. Does anyone else have a question? No other questions? Mrs. Moore, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for coming.